Welcome to Everyday Ethics, the show where we discuss ethical problems as they apply to your everyday life. I'm Michael Liebowitz. We have the lovely Persephone, and I'm going to look like I'm disappearing because I have a gray sweatshirt on. I promise you, I am not disappearing. Please remember that we love super chats, super stickers. Monday we have the headphones arriving that I will be wearing. Persephone, take it away.
Your sweatshirt is beige, not grey. Just saying.
My
Um,
sweatshirt is gray. That's not beige. That's gray. Trust me, it's gray.
Hi, Katie. Okay, so here's my first question. When you started the show, Everyday Ethics,
Yes.
what kind of questions were you hoping that you were going to get?
What I was hoping, the show turned into something different than what I thought that it would be. What I thought the show would be is a show where I would come on the air, much like a radio talk show where callers call in and they bring this and they bring that, they comment. I figured that people in the chat would ask me enough questions that would ultimately sustain a half hour only show. It That didn't work out for me. So I didn't anticipate what questions were coming. I anticipated that people would just bring questions, but ultimately that didn't transpire. But what has transpired now is you're on here to ask me all kinds of questions.
Hmm. So you didn't going into this, you didn't have like questions that you were hoping for. Is it made of boyfriend material? You didn't have questions that you were hoping for, or like specific types of things that you wanted to talk about?
Just problems that people had with ethics, the everyday situations that they face. Now, so I couldn't know, right, what individual problems people were facing,
No,
right?
very true.
So I wouldn't know that. I was just hoping that they would bring it. They're commenting that your background is different. See, people notice. I just don't notice.
Yeah. Um, so for the people who are in the audience and who answered the poll a little while ago about, why you're not asking questions and you said other, I would be interested to know what is the reason that you're not asking more
Why they don't
questions.
ask questions?
Yes.
I would.
Because the reason I ask is because I would like to know if there is a way for us to make it easier for them to ask their questions, because it seems like they have them, they maybe just don't know how to phrase them, or
So let me tell you what I think the situation might be. Right. One of the reasons I dislike writing, right, when in writing debate stuff, right. So if I'm online and we get into it, I'd like to debate like this because writing, I can't formulate what I want to say the same way. I don't know why. I have like a disconnect. It just doesn't work that way. I wouldn't be surprised if there are people that are asking questions, but they have it in their heads and they know how to say it, but they don't know how to type it. Now, Subby says there's only so much you can type on the phone, so that might be part of the issue.
yeah, I know the YouTube comments do limit how long a question can be, and maybe you are right and it is a phrasing thing. I have the opposite problem. Um, I like to think that I'm a very good writer, but when it comes to speaking words, not so much. My mouth moves faster than my brain.
Okay, okay.
Anyway, so when when you first started improving yourself,
Yeah.
which this is a very broad question. Uh, which of these principles was the most difficult for you to apply to your own life?
Honestly, I don't even know. Like I had such immediate things that needed to change that it was obvious. So it wasn't like a thing where I'm like, what do I need to change right now? What's going on? I was sniffing heroin in prison. So it was fairly obvious that needed to stop. Right. I was also gambling. Those were the first things that I needed to stop. Also, I wanted to act in my own interest. That was my sort of standard that I was going by. But Samenow and Yokelson, they discussed what needed, a lot of the things that needed to change. I was familiar with things that implied criminality that weren't necessarily overt criminal behaviors, but were indicative of the criminal personality. So that was the stuff that I started working on first. I also did, I'm sure there's people in the audience that are familiar with it. Ben Franklin, in his autobiography, put out a self-improvement program. So what he said was that if he tried to fix everything at once, he noticed he would just lose his mind. So he came up with a program of 13 virtues that he wanted to cultivate. I don't remember what they are now, so don't ask, but you could, I'm sure, find them and post them if you'd like. But anyway, so he said he would work on one a week. And at the end of each day, he would, rate his progress. And he'd do that for 1 week. And then he would switch. And there were 13, so he would do for a year. And make 52 weeks. Brett and I actually started to do Ben Franklin's system. We started to implement his things. That was one thing that we did. Plus, as I would read, various things would come out about, you should try this, you should try that. So I was doing so many different things, working on, I had to work on my own insecurities, my own self-esteem problems, my fear of abandonment. So I was very aware of that. The main thing that I started to work on, I think, right away was my sensitivity to how my behavior affected other people, because that was very important in reading about the criminal personality. Is criminals just don't care how they affect others. And if you're in a prison, you'll notice guys are slamming dominoes off the table. They do not, they're not even cognizant. I wouldn't even say, somebody would say to me, they're not doing it on purpose. And I would say that's worse.
It is worse.
Because they're oblivious to how they're affecting other people. They want it, so they do it. So I was very much aware. I became aware of that. What am I doing that's impacting other people in a negative fashion? How do I stop that? I also knew that immediate gratification was a very real problem for criminals. And I once said that if you labeled a jar and put it in the counselor's office and labeled it tiger piss, the inmates would want it because it's something they don't have. Right? They would see that whatever they see, if they don't have it, they want it. And I had a cellmate, for instance, and there were ways you could get in a Game Boy at this time, though they weren't selling them. Right? You could get them smuggled in. There were various ways. So I had one guy, a friend of mine, sold my cellmate a Game Boy. And he was so happy he had his Game Boy. Then they started selling them on commissary. And he no longer cared about it. Because now everybody had it. So he wasn't the special one now. You understand? So guys will see stuff, and I knew that this was part of the criminal makeup, is I just want something because others don't have it, or because I'm not supposed to have it, or I want to engage in behavior or simply because I am not supposed to, or I'm violating other people's rights. And so I started to hone that aspect of myself. What is a theft? Is it just that I go and deliberately steal something from another inmate? Well, okay, what about taking stuff from the state, like sponges, paper towels, chemicals? By chemicals, I mean cleaning supplies that I know I'm not supposed to have. And if I'm not doing it myself, am I buying it from other people? So my change process in that regard would be different from other people, because that are not criminals. But nevertheless, if somebody were to tell me what should I work on, I would say, what are the ways in which you're hindering what's best for you? Well, first I would say define what's best for you. Define what's in your own interest. So now you know this is what's in my interest. And then I would say, what are the ways in which you are currently acting counter to what's best for you? Right? Are you going out and getting hammered every day so that you're tired the next day and can't work? Or what might be more common, are you sleeping around because you're very much enjoying the sexual pleasure, but you're not paying attention to how that's impacting other aspects of your life? So, what ways are you acting contrary to your own interest where you currently think maybe you are acting in the way of what's best for you, but you're really not?
I think that's a really important distinction, right? Like, what is really in your best interest? Because I think people can get a little bit confused between what maybe feels good right now and what they think is in their best interest, but actually isn't.
Yes.
But there's no way for you to tell another person what is in their best interest.
Oh, well, you could tell them. That doesn't mean they're going to believe you or they're going to buy into it. But I mean, certainly, if I have a friend, right, and a friend tells me whatever they're doing, right? Like if somebody's telling me, hey, let's go out and try. I have a girlfriend now, so this wouldn't really be applicable. But if I weren't, hey, why don't we go out and see if we can score some chicks, right? Let's say somebody says that to me. Um, it would be I would say, well, no, I don't want to do that. Right now, that's not to say I couldn't go out to meet girls. Women. I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about like deliberately going out and trying to meet somebody at a bar for a one night stand. Well, you could ask the person, okay, how has that worked out in the past? How do you usually feel the next day? What are the risks that you're taking when you're doing this? What are you exposing yourself to? What future avenues might you be closing to yourself because you're doing this now? And if the person's smart or if the person really wants to learn, then they'll start asking those types of questions. If they're just not interested, then it doesn't matter. But if somebody really wants to know, then you can help them discover what is in their own interest. But ultimately, they always have to do the thinking for themselves.
Yeah. Um, I have a follow-up question, but I also want to address Mr. Deagle, who asked if I was a Satanist at any point because of my username.
Yes.
Um, no, I was never a Satanist. I did a research paper on Satanism like a long time ago. It's a quote by Mark Twain, who prays for Satan, which I like. I don't know why I like it, just appeals to me. Um, so, my follow up question: do you think that it was easier for you to drastically change your life the way you did because you were in prison,
As opposed to what?
as opposed to a person who is out and about and surrounded by like having so
I would say the problem here is that I was given a big incentive to do it, being in prison. Now, to weigh whether it was easy or not, I would say, look, there's ups and downs. I certainly had a lot more time to read than most people have, and a lot more time to think. I was also enmeshed in a completely chaotic environment where it's noisy, and you've got a lot of pressure from other people to not do what's right, a lot of opportunities to not do what's right. So there's pros and cons of it, right? I don't think so. And also, you remember, I had much further to go than what most people have, right? So I want to say yes because it's always pointed out to me, well, you had all this time to read. That is very much accurate. But it's also accurate that I got guys slamming dominoes. I got guys screaming nonstop about bitches and this and that and motherfucker this and motherfucker that, on a regular basis. Whereas out here, I can cultivate who I'm around to a far greater degree than what I was able to do in prison.
there's a there is a show called The Good Place, which is I think a fantastic show, and one of I
Is
think the
that with
main
Ted Danson?
yes,
Okay.
and that blonde girl
Kristen
from,
Bell.
yes, her. I love her. I also I recommended that show to you a little while ago because I think it's good. But anyway, one of the plot of that show is basically that living on Earth, right? Because these people are dead. Living on Earth, it makes it really difficult to make good decisions because you're stressed about work and you're stressed about money and you're stressed about just life makes it difficult to make good decisions. So that was the reason that I asked, do you think being in prison maybe made it a little bit easier? Because if you have a person, say, who's working two jobs and raising a child on their own, it's kind of more difficult to sit and read a whole bunch of books.
Sure, that is certainly one part of it, but you also can cultivate better support systems. You can avoid toxic people. So there's differences. I mean, I've had people say to me, for instance, "Oh well, that's all fine for you to get educated because you were in prison where you can read." Okay, that's fine and dandy. I also didn't have a mommy and daddy to make sure that I went to school every day and to make sure I did my homework and to, pressure me to go to college and things of that nature. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm very hesitant to say either way. Like I said, there's ups and there's downs. I just,
I
there's no excuse for not bettering yourself, even if only a little bit.
Yes, but the first step has to be actually wanting to change and
Yes.
actually wanting to be better. And I think if you want to change and you want to be better, um,
That's also very true.
that's very true. But the thing is, a lot of people in real life, not real, sorry, not that prison's not real life,
No, it's
a
funny
lot of,
because in prison, people refer to outside as the real world.
yeah, people in daily life, they don't want to do shit for themselves. It's kind of terrible, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, the first step is that you have to want to change and then find the time, even if it's 10 minutes a day, to do something.
Well, let's look at a book like tomorrow. Mark and I on Self Made Soul are going to be discussing the book As a Man Thinketh. The book's like 60 pages, very big print. It's not like you're not reading small print that fills pages. Very small book, very very helpful book. There's no reason somebody can't read that book. None. I mean, I could read it in an hour, the whole book, and that can be a helpful book. There's podcasts everywhere about self help, right? So there's an abundance of resources that you have at your disposal that I didn't have in prison. So I just don't. It's just an excuse. You know what I mean? To not do what you need to do. And in the end, it's counterproductive. And that goes back to what you mentioned earlier about what's in your own interest. It's not in your own interest to not do things for yourself.
Yes. The one thing that I do want to say about reading books, right, is you don't want to be an underpants gnome. I don't know if anybody's going to get that reference, but you don't just want to read a million books and apply none of it. Because I know a huge subset of people who read like all of these self-help books and they do nothing with the knowledge.
Well,
They
yeah,
just they keep reading more and more and they don't apply anything. They don't they don't apply it to their life. Um,
thank you, Danny, for the 99 cents. What were you
Mike
saying?
had a Mike had a knowledge handicap and still came out top dog in self-improvement. It feels really rude to say he had a knowledge handicap.
Well, I did. But, to what you just said, there's a very good book. I don't know if you ever heard of Have you ever heard of Napoleon Hill?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know his story? I'm going to tell it anyway. I'm just curious if you know it.
Vaguely?
So he was a young man. I don't know, maybe 20 something. He was a journalist of some sort. And he meets Andrew Carnegie. And Andrew Carnegie asks him, if I introduce you to the most successful people this country has ever known, if I'm willing to talk to you, will you spend 25 years studying a philosophy of success to publish, to put out to the general public? I think they need it. He says yes. So Carnegie puts him in touch with these people: Carnegie, Rockefeller, Edison, and an abundance of other, Henry Ford. And he ends up distilling a philosophy of success. His first, it was in the Laws of Success, but ultimately it comes in this book, Think and Grow Rich. I've read this book, I don't know, 20, 30 times. Anyway, some of it's real hinky, whatever, but there's a lot of very valuable stuff in there. But there's a chapter in there called Specialized Knowledge. And he says in there that people live under the delusion that knowledge is power. It's no such thing, he says. Applied knowledge is power. Because just having knowledge in your skull does nothing. If all you want to do is spout facts, it does nothing for you. It becomes valuable, it becomes power when applied. So you're absolutely right. You can read all the self-help books you want. I can read all the magazines about nutrition that I want to. If I won't eat celery or whatever else is supposed to be good for me, it doesn't mean anything.
That's very true. I have a friend who refuses to help themselves. Refuses, point blank. And no matter how many times I tell him, all you need to do is just start. You just need to start. He refuses, point blank.
Can I tell you a pet peeve? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
I was.
No, you weren't.
Kind
I'm
of.
sorry. No, I want you to finish up.
Yeah, so he complains all the time about, he all sorts of things, and he refuses to make any changes. And he talks about how stressed he is, and I'm like, well, phone your landlord. That's one thing that you could do to de-stress yourself. But no, he's rather going to sit and not do anything, and he's just going to continue to stress.
Yeah,
Just do.
that. Yes, I hate that. That I really have zero patience for complainers who don't want to do something about it. It's like, okay, you've told me the problem. Now, what can we do to fix it? Let's solve the issue. I don't want to hear about how everything sucks, how everything's terrible. If we can't do anything about it, then we have to just live with it. But otherwise, what can we do to fix this problem? And I've told people, I am not a sounding board for your misery. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not here on this planet just to listen to other people bitch. That's not why I exist. If you want solutions, if you want help, if you want to actually do something, I'm all about it. But I'm not just here for you to tell me, poor me, this is wrong, that's wrong, and then every solution you shoot down. No, fuck that. I'm not about that at all.
Is that the pet peeve, or was there another one?
That's a big pet peeve of mine, is people who complain but aren't solution oriented. I don't like that. Drives me crazy. It's like, if we can do something about it, let's do it.
I don't mind if my friends bitch to me, right? If my friends vent to me, because sometimes you need that. Sometimes you just need, need 5 minutes a day to cry, and then you can be gangster, right? So I don't mind if my friends vent to me, and if they don't necessarily want a solution to their problems. I need that sometimes. Sometimes I just need to scream into the void, and then I can move on.
Well, hold on.
If you keep coming back with the same issues, however, then it's different.
Yes. If I have a friend that just needs to vent, that normally isn't like this, I'll certainly listen to somebody vent one time. But when that's somebody's mode or style of dealing with life, no, I'm not around for that. No way.
Yeah.
Come here.
Um, Ray says celery is ass without peanut butter. I avoid it at all costs. I'm sorry. Oh, it's a beautiful baby. Celery tastes like grass, but in the worst possible way.
Celery is one of the few vegetables I can actually stomach.
Really?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Everybody, by the way, this is Luna.
That's
Luna
a
likes
luna.
to howl.
That's a
Hey,
lunar
buddy.
moth.
Say hi. Really?
Yes,
Luna, that's a Luna moth.
that's you if you were a moth. Yeah, it helps to ask if they want comfort or solutions when hearing someone vent. Yes, actually that's what my friends and I ask each other. Do you want to vent, or do you want solutions? And I know this is an issue. They say it's an issue with women when they go to their male partners with problems, that the male partner is tries to provide solutions, and the woman's just like, I just want a bitch. I don't need solutions. I just want a bitch. Um, I know that is a problem. I did actually have a specific question that I thought about today. That
All
is an
right.
ethical question.
All right. Let's hear it.
So I need a little bit of backstory on this.
All right.
So with the advent of AI,
Yeah.
one of the things that companies are now doing is all of the CVs that they receive get put through an AI. And
All
the
the what?
AI,
I don't know what that is.
a CV, a
Yeah.
resume,
Okay.
a CV is a curriculum vitae.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but the resume gets put into AI, and the AI is taught to look for certain things.
Okay.
Another thing that jobs do is when they list job requirements, they sometimes list you need X years of experience in a certain software or a certain whatever, whatever. Now, it is fairly common for companies to put in far more experience than they actually want, just because they're trying to discourage, certain people from joining. I've seen some job requirements where they say you need 10 years of experience with the software, but the software's only been in existence for 3 years. It's happened. Okay. So you have these job ads that list 5 years of experience. You know that your resume is going to get flagged. If you have, say, 6 months of sales experience and they're looking for 3 years, can you lie on your resume?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. And to be honest, I wouldn't want to work for a company that does that kind of thing. And I'll tell you why. Because the company is ultimately incentivizing exactly what you just said. If it must be generally known, because Ian Gilmore said the same thing in the comments, that the companies do this. So if a
Yes.
company does that and people know that, then people are just going to lie, and that it just doesn't seem smart to me. Like to,
It's
to do that, it's just counterproductive because you're just incentivizing liars. So you're going to get, let's say that I'm an honest person. I am an honest person, but let's say I have 6 months experience and I'm very good at it. I could lie to them to get the job or not. I'm not going to lie. So you've just weeded out an honest person who could do the job,
okay.
right?
I
So I don't want to work for that company.
okay. So also, I just want to sidebar, James, I'm allergic to carrots because he says carrots are tasty. I'm allergic to them.
Well, that's not
So
his fault.
I know it's not, but just felt it necessary to let him know. Okay, so you said you wouldn't work for that company. You wouldn't want to work for that company.
No.
This happens with a lot of companies, right? And people nowadays, like, they are struggling to find jobs because resumes are being auto rejected because of AI. What if you are on the verge, like, you've lost your job, right? You're on the verge of homelessness. Does that change whether you lie on your
Well, okay.
resume?
So here's the thing. I cannot foresee of a possible circumstance in this world where I would have to get a job with one of these companies in order to not be homeless. Do you understand? Like, so I don't accept the hypothetical because I just think it's anti-reality. Now, in another country, maybe, I don't know. I'm not in South Africa, but in America, I could certainly go to like. Let me give you an example. There on the Silestein Highway in Wethersfield, Connecticut. They have these like islands in the roads, and people stand on there and beg for. They stand there all day and beg for money. Cold, rain, whatever. Signs, please help. Okay. There's a mall, a strip mall on one end. And on the other end, there's all kinds of stores. And it just, I sit there and I think to myself, being lazy, I would rather go work at Popeye's Chicken than stand there all day freezing my ass off with this sign, right? I go work at Popeye's, I'm warm, I likely get fed from there, and I get paid better. These people just sit out there all day. It just doesn't make sense to me. But my ultimate point is, there was a guy, for instance, there was this book called Nickel and Dimed. I actually read it and just, I found so much wrong with it before I even knew about what I'm going to tell you. So this guy, her claim was that if you simply can't make it in America, right? She went out there and tried, and everything went wrong for her. Turns out, like, she was trying to stay in high-end motels. She wasn't willing to sacrifice. She needed to have good clothes, that type of thing. But this dude, he said he's going to do that. It'd take him 3 months or so to succeed. He went and stayed in a homeless shelter, right? Built up his capital by saving, and ended up successful at the end of the 3 months, just to show that it can be done. So I don't know, like, why I would be in a position where I have to lie to various companies in order to get the job. Now, let me just say, if I'm going to starve to death, yes, I'm going to lie. That's, but I just don't foresee that actually being the case.
No, I think what's more likely, the more likely situation, right, is that you're talking about someone, this person who would have to lie, right? You're talking about someone who wants to be in a specific career field, right? For instance, me, when I was applying for jobs as a copywriter, I could have gotten a job at McDonald's, but I specifically wanted a job as a copywriter. And there are a lot of people who, yes, technically they could get a job at McDonald's or in construction, but they want to work in a specific career field.
Yeah, see, so now you're asking me, is it okay to lie because I want to work in a specific field that I might not even be qualified to work in?
No, I'm not saying is it okay to lie. We've established that it's not. But
yeah,
what
but
you're I'm clarifying the question.
Listen, like, how many millions of people want to work in the NBA? They want to be professional basketball players or baseball players or football players. They're just not qualified. They can't do it. We can't in this world always get what we want. But if you try sometime, you might get what you need. No, listen, the point is that that's not a reasonable thing. This is what I want, and I'm not going to accept anything else. Okay, well, then it's nobody else's fault if you're out on your ass because you're not willing to do what it takes. And Ian makes a good point that if you get the job, you're going to have a hard time. His wife has gotten jobs where they misunderstood her experience level and it ends up being miserable. So that's another thing. So you might be assuming that these companies are doing what you said. Now, what if the company is not? And you tell them, yes, I have the experience, and they bring you in and you're standing there like Joe Dickhead and don't know what the hell to do. Now you get fired, and now that's going to be, what are you going to lie on your next resume?
Yeah. So this was the reason that I initially mentioned the AI flagging and the requirements that are sometimes actually impossible. That's why I mentioned that. But yes, that was one of the questions that I had today.
So remember we were talking about the other day about left-wing grifters, left-wing influencers. So I'm going to name Cenk Uygur. I've heard of him before. I just came across this, and you just talk about lying. Like, these people, it's all about the clicks. This guy says I no longer believe official 9/11 story. Well, how convenient that you don't believe it anymore because you just got 1 million views for putting that out there, right? Somebody, people have told me that I should be willing to bend on principle in order to grow my audience, right? I know how to do that. I know if I were to come out today and say, you know what, I've rethought everything. Trump is a good president. He's a good guy. I had Trump derangement syndrome. I know what it is. I was suffering for it. And I built my brand around being a reformed TDS guy. And I came on the air and I spoke with absolute certainty about things I had no business being certain about. I was outright lying or whatever. That stuff grows audiences. I know how to get clicks and stuff like that. I'm just not going to do it. And I've actually had a successful podcast host tell me, no, but you should do it a little bit and then you grow your audience and then you can change. Sure. And then I've attracted an audience that wants to hear bullshit, which I have no interest in that kind of an audience. All right. It doesn't appeal to me at all. I don't know why it's relevant that your husband's gluten intolerant, but okay.
Because Sabi said, Race, I hear people here talk about not having gluten allergies in other countries, that it's an American thing.
It's bullshit. Yeah, it's bullshit. It is. I've looked into this. It's bullshit.
Yeah, you know what? I really want to come to America because I really want to try the bread, because I see a lot of like sort of Europeans traveling to America and being like, the bread is cake.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that bad.
Right. So yeah, Subby's problem is he won't dive deep. He'll watch a TikTok video and he'll say, oh, this is what I heard, and that's the end of it. Not that he goes and buys it, but he doesn't then look into it to figure it out. But this is a common myth. They say, I hear it all the time, that they don't have these problems in other countries. It's just inaccurate.
Yeah. Also, Greg, I find a better partner then. Sorry. If I don't give her a Hallmark $5, then I don't love her.
Booster Seat says sugar is in all the bread. Flour contains carbohydrates that are converted by your body into sugar. Am I wrong about that? Is there bread that doesn't have carbohydrates?
No, but I mean, bread also does have a bit of sugar in it.
Yeah.
Besides the flour.
You're saying they add sugar?
They do.
To American bread only?
No, not only to American bread. Obviously, like, you get brioche, which is sweetened bread. But yes, they do add sugar to some American breads.
Yeah, you can add extra sugar, but all bread is going to have sugar. It's not all. I mean, the carbohydrates which are converted to sugar. Of course, you could get wheat bread and get more complex carbs. But I don't want to get into a whole thing like that. I'm just saying that the idea that it's in America this is a problem is not true.
Yeah, no, it's nutrition is a problem everywhere.
Yeah, in America now there are from what I understand, obesity is a bigger problem in America than other places.
In Africa, it is very fashionable to be obese. It is a sign of wealth and.
Yeah, see, so Mr. Deagle says Americans are extra fat, so there's some problem with food. Well, there's some problem with the choices. I mean, I go out to the store, I don't have to buy donuts.
So I know what the answer is going to be, right? The answer is going to be food deserts, and it's cheaper to buy processed food, and it's more difficult, and I don't have the time, and this, and no. I'm sorry. I know all of the arguments that people make about why they can't make healthier choices. And thank you, Daniel. Yes, super chats and super stickers are still available for purchase. I know all of the reasons that people give that they can't make healthier choices, and it's the same excuses they make for not being able to make more ethical choices or not being able to improve their lives in any way. You can find a way. You can do one small thing every day.
All right, so Subby, I just looked this up. I asked this question: are gluten allergies exceptionally rare in Italy? Here's the answer. Gluten allergies are actually not exceptionally rare in Italy. In fact, Italy has one of the highest rates of diagnosed celiac disease in the world. You see? It's just BS. And that's part of the issue with, I want to kick it back and bring it around to this show, is that, reason is one of the primary values for a reason, right? It's because reason allows you to gather proper information, and that you can pivot off Persephone, that you can apply, that you actually can work with. But you have to have facts, and you gather facts, and you assess what's going on based on reason, based on logic.
Yes.
That's your answer? Yes, and that's that? Are you okay? Are you going to sneeze?
No, my answer is that I'm coughing.
Oh.
Um, I just distracted by my coughing. Sorry, I'm going through and looking at my other questions. Is the show now 45 minutes permanently? Shows however long
Yeah, it
we
goes
decide
however
we do.
long I want it to go.
Yeah, I have no choice in this. I'm just held hostage. So, hold on, I had a good question and I can't remember what it was. What is something that you still struggle with?
Anger. I still have a fiery temper. I get, not so. I don't get angry at the things that I used to get angry at. I don't get angry as often as I get. I'm able to recover from anger pretty quickly when I get angry. But there are things that aggravate me. It's probably rooted in control if I had to. So one thing that I absolutely that bothers me, and I wish it didn't, is perceived injustice. Not guilty people getting away with crime. I mean, not innocent people getting caught, or guilty. But yes, when guilty people when they get away with it, when it appears that what they're doing is lucrative, like for instance in the case of the influencers, the grifters, it annoys me. It annoyed me in prison when guys would just get away with doing wrong all the time, because the message gets sent. Well, what the hell is the point, right? If the scumbags in the world can succeed, then why do what's right? Now, I have an answer to that, and I don't ultimately believe it, but nevertheless, it does occur to me. So that's something that does irk me, right? Now, something else that when I'm in a discussion with somebody and the reason is not being employed, and by that I mean, the laws of logic, and there's plenty of rules of logic. There's fallacies. When somebody's employing fallacies or they're misrepresenting what I'm saying, it's like 0 to 100 aggravation wise.
What are you doing are you doing anything specific to try to improve that?
Well, I'm trying to cultivate patience. I used, of course, self-talk, but the problem is it happens so fast. It's very, that one thing. And the other thing is, Persephone, honestly, I'm not sure I ever want to be okay with it. Right? Do I ever want to just accept lack of reason or lack of logic in people? Do I ever want to think that's okay? I would like to bring down the level of aggravation that I get. So yeah, it's something that I need to work on. I need to work on my patience, and I do that through self-talk. I tell myself, okay, this isn't that important. This isn't, something that a hill I need to die on. It's going to be fine. it's not being done on purpose. That, so I do use those tools, but like Ian says, trying to slow down in the moment is difficult. It's why we have to take steps beforehand to prime ourselves properly to make it right. But I've got to get going. So if you have another question, by all means, ask.
No.
Danny Susko, would you like to meet me for dinner tonight? I know we spent the other day together, but if you'd like to do it tonight, I'm headed to Weathersfield. Okay, there's no more questions. We do have tomorrow, or no, we have Sunday, a Patreon thing. So you might want to advertise that.
Yes, everybody go to patreon.com/everydayethics, because on Sunday we will be hosting a group Zoom. So you'll be able to ask your questions in person. Maybe it'll be a little bit easier for you to phrase what you want to say if you can say it in words. It's going to be very exciting. The link is going to go out tomorrow. So yes, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there. Also, don't forget that Everyday Ethics is also available on Spotify.
Thank you, everybody. And until then, remember, be ethical.